Hi everyone, it's Shari Carroll for simonsaysstamp.com, and I have an art journal feature here for you, and I'm going to try out some Tim Holtz Alcohol ink on Yupo. So Yupo is a really unique paper. It's made of plastic. It's really smooth, but yet it has some tooth where it holds all sorts of mediums. I have a range of the Tim Holtz Alcohol inks from my reds, pinks, blues, greens, all the way to brown. To get this started, I am going to uncap all of these. I'm not sure all of which ones I'm going to use for my project, but I have everything listed in the details below if you want to check out my supply list. I have sped this up so that we can fit it into the time allowed. I'm starting off with some yellows and then working into some pools. That creates a green, so I'm just using drops of color onto this Yupo paper. And I can honestly tell you there's no method to this madness. I am just dropping on color. I'm in an experimental phase right here, just going to see what this Yupo will do. So I'm even using a purple on top of a green, and we usually know how that turns out disastrous. But with the alcohol inks, they just spread out so vibrantly. It's really amazing. If you want to stop this from spreading out, the best thing to do is to use your heat tool and just dry it fairly quick. So that'll keep the colors in a smaller area. So as you can see, I'm just continuing to drop on color and just even splashing it on, not really worrying about what I'm doing. At some point in this phase, you're going to think, oh my gosh, Shari, you've just overdone it. And I did too. And I found a really quick way to fix that because Yupo is so forgiving. So as you can see, some of my color is turning black around those dots of color. So now I'm going to try something else. I'm spritzing on some alcohol that I put in a mini mister, and now I've blotted this up with a baby wipe. I'm like, okay. So now I've stained the Yupo a little bit, and I have a really good base to maybe work off of. So I blotted that up as much as possible. Now I've spritzed on a little bit more of the purple, and I've added some alcohol that I have in a bottle. Now I'm going back in with the aqua. I'm going to start all over again. I'm going to keep adding this color. But as you can see, I'm not getting mud. I'm getting a really nice mix of color. The alcohol inks just really react to the Yupo. It's so amazing. My theory with this and the experimenting is really to take it to the limits. So I am going back in. It's almost looking like it was before. But I see a little bit of purple, and I do see a little bit of yellow still. But I'm starting to get that black again around those rings. So again, I'm just going to add more color. And I've decided to fix it this time. I'm going to just use a paper towel and blot that up. Now I have something that I really like. It also has the little marks of the paper towel, but those will go away. So at this point, I'm being a little bit more selective as to where I'm going to add my color. I've got some really great combinations of colors from where the Yupo was stained underneath, and now I'm adding in the new color on top. Some of this I don't want it to spread out so quick, so I'm going to blot it with my paper towel once again. But I'm pretty happy with how this is looking. Now to add a little bit more color on top, I'm going to go in with one of my aquas and some blending solution. And I'm just going to go around and pounce and just add a little bit more color in some of these areas that are a little bit darker. So this is really giving me quite an effect that I like. Rather than going in with big drops of color, I can just add a little bit of color to break up some of those circles. And just by adding the aqua, which goes with all the colors I have on my piece, and I'm loving this more with each little pounce that I do, but I want to make sure that I don't overdo it again. And this has turned out to be something that I really want to put into my art journal. The Yupo sheets measure 5 by 7, and I need this to be 7 by 7, so I've created a second piece, and right now I'm making it look a little bit like the other one. With my panels dry, I'll be stamping this with the Circle Doodle stamp from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm using black archival ink. So I have this in my stamp positioner. Now I can just press this right down, and I do the CPR method where I really make sure I press in all areas. So once I have that well pressed, I can lift this up, and I have a great stamped image that I can use for some doodling. To stamp the bottom portion of my image, I have repositioned the Yupo just to the bottom edge, and I can see right where I need to stamp. And I've re-inked the stamp, and I'm pressing it down, and I can lift this up, and I have the bottom portion stamped, and it lines up pretty well. I have both of them stamped, and I can get them ready to put into my journal. I have cut a 2-inch piece from one portion, and then I have the full sheet sitting horizontally. And now I want to piece these together. The easiest way to do this, I have found, is to turn them over on the back side. And I'm using Elizabeth Craft double-sided tape. And I'm just going to add some strips to the back, kind of at an angle, and these will hold these pieces together. I've added additional tape to the back, and this is really the easiest way I've found to add these pages right into my journal. The tape sits really nice and flat. So I can turn this over. I have a seam there. My plan is to use some Tim Holtz tissue tape. This is a really great set of tapes, and I'm using the one with the numbers. So it is black, and it'll go with the background of my black journal. So I can put this right across my piece, and you can't even tell that that's two pieces of Yupo and two different alcohol inkings. To stick this into my journal, I just have to peel the backing of that tape off, line it up, and stick it down in place. I'm using a little bit of black soot distress paint and an ink blending tool, and I'm going to ink up the edges of my quote chips. I want the edges to be black, so I'm just dipping right into that paint and just touching the edge with the ink blending tool. To stick my quote chips down, I've added a little bit of the double-sided tape to the back of those, just peeled off that backing. Now I can line those all up for my grouping. I'll be doing some journaling in this one, and I suggest two pens. The first one is a Faber-Castell Pitt pen, and that's black, and then also the Signa white ball pen. I haven't made a journal where I've been able to do a lot of doodling, and this is going to be really fun for me. This will be a work in progress, and I will just keep adding it to it as I go. I'll take this with me traveling, and it'll be fun just to add some marks. I have a quick tip for you for using the white Signo, and that's to use the palm of your hand and draw. It keeps that ball rolling, especially if you pick up residue from your multimedia projects. Here's a look at how this turned out with the background and the stamping and my title. I have started doing some of my doodling and art journaling. I'm adding words here and there and messages for myself within the design. The circle doodle stamp actually adds journaling lines if you think of it as writing in circles. I hope I've given you some inspiration to try something new, and as always, thanks so much for watching.